Greetings, Lethals and Villains, Noctina here, drawing edgelords and feeling like chitter-charting this round because walking your dogs while taking a break from art makes the mind wander onto random things. So way back in my fledgling days, I had a Game Boy Advance and a copy of this little game called Monster Force. So, I decided to dig out the old lockbox I kept the games in and charge it with my Game Boy Advance SP. And yes, technically it's September, but hey, the stores can already start flooding the shelves with Halloween decor, so rules are out the window. Monster Force was a game created by both Digital Eclipse and Universal Interactive, and starred three monsters, Wolfie, Frank, and Drac. Their creator gets kidnapped, and the monsters must traverse Monsterland in order to find him. I know that's technically like the incorrect lore right, but this is also Hollywood we're talking about. The game basically functions very similar to Gauntlet, where you must traverse a maze and be wary of traps and monsters while gathering as much loot as fast as possible to get high scores. There are a total of 9 themed levels for each 4 parts, 2 maze levels, a special objective level, and a boss level that range from areas to graveyards, gardens, deserts, mostly no spooky things, except for that cloud level. That cloud level makes absolutely no sense. At the start, you are allowed to pick one of 3 characters who each have different stats. Wolfie is faster, Frank has higher health, and Drac has a higher bullet rate. Something that I would point out is that the box art doesn't exactly match the art in the game, which I think is kind of a shame really. The box art is kind of this cutesy, generic kiddie versions of the famous monsters, while the art in game and the manual has a bit more of an exaggerated, edgy, expressive appearance, but I think it's a bit of a shame. I kind of would like to see the designs animated like with the writing and team behind Rise of TMNT, especially with the To Be Continued ending that the game suggested. The graphics in game are alright. A lot of the mazes are just palette swap with some extra decor. And the monsters are very limited variety. Like you have the dancing stone pumpkins, you have the jumping pumpkins, you have the spider pumpkins, and maybe occasionally a mummy or a ghost or anything. And pretty much like the only differences between levels is them having the amount of health and how many bullets they have to take before they go down. Even Gauntlet had mixed things up a little with its enemy and level design. But what really hurts the game more than anything are the controls. The controls, while are not unusable like a certain other gamer can mention, but they can be a major hindrance to overall enjoyment. Movement can be choppy, especially when you're trying to aim your shots or trying to move to a better location while being chased, especially in boss fights. Then there is that bump mechanic. You run into a wall and you're like dead stop for a second. Like, this is especially annoying when dealing with time switches and trials, and you have a very narrow space to move, especially anything that's flooded with enemies and spike traps. Thanks. Now, is the game absolutely horrible? No, not really. The mazes themselves are often clever and do require a bit of thinking to get through them. Plus, on an average playtime, you should be able to clear a maze in maybe 5-10 minutes tops and complete the first run in the game in about 3 hours. There is some replayability by playing as the other characters, as well as getting all crystal rank to unlock the 2 additional characters, Nina and Darcy. I mean, it's not a bad game, but it could be used a bit more polish. But it could just also be a shovelware game, an excuse for Universal to use those characters. I mean, they still have the IP as far as I'm aware. Maybe we never got those 3D PS2 and Xbox versions. And as far as I'm aware, the studio only makes collection-style video games. And that's kind of a shame. That will really never happen to the end of Sergeant Squash and Percy. But hey, that's just how things work, right? I'm Noctina Noir, and I'm one Nox of a Burb.